Hi everyone, welcome to DIADEMY IAS. Well, in this session, we are going to discuss about a poem, Michael. And this poem was written by William Wordsworth. We have 9 poems from William Wordsworth in this UPSC main syllabus. And here let's discuss about the poem. And from this we already discussed the 3 poems from the William Wordsworth list, 2 Lucy poem and one poem. That means that the poem explains about Westminster Bridge. Okay, and here this poem is a long poem. And normally we discuss the 3 poems which are very short, and this poem is a long poem. Okay, it's a big one. And so we are going to discuss this poem part by part. Today, part 1. In this part 1, we are going to discuss about the details regarding with this poem and the first 50 lines. Okay, so let's start. Michael, written by William Wordsworth. And we already discussed about the romantic age. What was a romantic age? We discussed about the movement. Actually, romantic age was a movement, and it was against a conventional system or a conventional literary background which existed in England during neoclassicism. Okay, so we discussed about William Wordsworth, Coleridge, Byron, Shelley, like all other writers, and their contribution in English literature during the time of Romantic Age. So here in this poem also we are going to discuss about an imagination, and we already explained that Romantic Age mainly focused on imagination, and specifically we can say that this is William Wordsworth, and the poet mainly focused on nature and imagination. So undoubtedly we can say that this poem Michael is a typical example for the imaginary depiction of nature. Especially here also it's a tragic poem. It means that we already discussed Wordsworth poems we can generally classify in different layers. Like some poems are pure natural base, that means personification with nature. And some poems are, William Wordsworth explains about death. And in some lines, in some poems, he explained about loneliness. Okay, so whatever the theme of the poem, William Wordsworth generally depict nature as the common factor in all his poems. In this poem, we can also compare this type of a depiction, and this poem is tragic in tone. Okay, it means that this poem explains about a tragic incident, and here the narrator or the William Wordsworth is depicting a character, that character's traumatic life. He was this character Michael, an old man, a shepherd, and his life, his sufferings, his pathetic conditions, his traumatic mental conditions, and all these are mainly the topic or the content theme used William Wordsworth in this poem. So let's discuss in detail about this poem. Michael. So first of all, we have to understand that what is this poem and what about this poem and what are the important theme poet shares through his lines, and what are the imaginary concepts, what are the objects, what are the natural things depicted here. So let's start about the introduction of this poem, Michael. So we can say that Michael is a poem written by William Wordsworth in 1800. Okay, this poem is written in 1800. This poem is written in 1800. We already said that this period is also important because mainly we know that the Romantic age, the impact of Romantic age. So this year is very, very important. And in 1800 he wrote this poem. Okay, and it published in, we already discussed about lyrical ballads. Okay, lyrical ballads. Okay, lyrical ballad. Lyrical ballad is a poem, is a work by William Wordsworth. William Wordsworth and S.T. Coleridge. And we studied that almost all literary works published, so actually it was a collection of literary work, and in this lyrical ballad, the lyrical ballad second edition, this poem Michael includes in the second edition of lyrical ballad. Okay, second edition of lyrical ballad. That's an important point. And the next one is, we already said, it's a tragic poem. This poem is a tragic poem. It's a tragic poem. It means that nature is the central theme in this poem, but the character Michael is the character in this poem, and through this poem, William Wordsworth explains about the traumatic life of this character, Michael. Traumatic life. Okay, traumatic life of Michael. Because he is an old man and he lived in a remote place, dwelling in a remote place, a valley in England. Actually, he's living in that place with his family, wife and son, and his life was some sort of suffering. And through this poem, William Wordsworth explains about his expectations, his dreams, and through the sufferings, pain, and he tried to fight with the life, and all these emotional stages can read in this poem. So this is the theme of the poem Michael. Okay, then next one is we can discuss about the other important themes in this poem, which are the important factors we have to remember when we start reading the poem. And it means that this poem is considered as extended ballad. Okay, extended ballad. Okay, extended ballad. What is ballad? We know that ballad is a depiction as a poem or a depiction, a long depiction relating with a relating with the romantic content, at the same time stories. That is ballad. Okay, so here in this we can consider this poem as an extended ballad. Okay, extended ballad. And this poem explains about rural life. This poem explained about a rural life of Michael, rural life. So the theme of the poem is rural life and shepherding. Shepherding is another theme in this poem. Okay, shepherding is another theme of the poem, and this poem is a long poem, approx 490 lines in this poem. It's a long poem. It's a long narrative work by William Wordsworth, and this poem published through lyrical ballad written by S.T. Coleridge and William Wordsworth. Okay, so that's an important point. And next one is, this poem is considered as a pastoral poem. This poem is considered as a pastoral poem. Okay, these are the basic introduction relating with the poem. So let's discuss about these concepts. It's an extended ballad. It means that through this poem, William Wordsworth explains about the life of Michael and his sufferings, his pain, and the traumatic condition of an old man who was a shepherd living in a valley or a remote area or remote place in England. And this poem mainly focused on rural life. And this poem explains about shepherding, Michael. Okay. The next, this poem published through lyrical ballad, the second publication. Okay, during the second publication, and this poem is considered as a pastoral poem. This poem is considered as a pastoral poem. What is pastoral poem? Pastoral poem means the poem which explains about rustic life. Rustic life, it means that rural life. So this poem is considered as a pastoral poem. Okay. Then now we can discuss about what is pastoral poem. What is pastoral poem? What is pastoral poem? We already said pastoral poem means a poem which discussed about rustic life or rural life. And let's discuss in detail about pastoral poem. What is pastoral poem? Pastoral poem means it is a type of literary work. Okay, dealing with shepherds and rustic life. Okay. A literary work explains about rustic life and shepherd. Okay, point number 1. Explains about rustic life or rural life and shepherd. That is the important definition relating with pastoral poetry. Okay, so that is pastoral poem. Okay, and the next important point is that it explains about in an imaginary presentation of shepherding. Imaginary presentation of shepherding. That is the next important point relating with the pastoral poetry. Okay. Then imaginary presentation of shepherding. And next one is the word pastoral. Actually, it was a Latin word. The word pastoral from Latin word. A Latin word, it means that pastoralis. Okay. Actually, it was a Latin word originated from pastoralis. The word is pastoralis. It means that pertaining to shepherd. It means that pertaining to shepherd. Pertaining to shepherd. That is a meaning. Pertaining to shepherd. That is the meaning of the word pastoral. Actually, it is a Latin word which originated from the Latin word, and it means that pertaining or relating to shepherd life. That is pastoral. Okay. Then the next important point is actually what was the history behind this pastoral poem? The history of pastoral poem. History. What was the history behind the pastoral poem? Actually, we can say that this poem, this type of pastoral poem emerged during the time of ancient times. Actually, it was in ancient times. Ancient times, pastoral poem actually was begun from the ancient times. Okay, around 700 BC. Okay, around 700 BC. Around 700 BC onwards, there was a depiction or like the presentation of pastoral poetry was there during the 700 BC time, and mainly ancient time. We can classify it ancient time, and that was the pastoral work. That was work and days. Okay, work and days. Work and days. Okay, so then after that a lot of different types of pastoral poems were also existed during the ancient time, and the next one is in history the Greek poet Hesiod. Okay, Greek poet Hesiod and Theocritus, Idylls. Idylls by Theocritus. Okay, and this in 3rd century. 3rd century time. And these are the important pastoral works during the ancient times. So, from that period onwards, there was a pastoral poetry in literature, and pastoral poem means a poem or a literary work which explains about shepherd or shepherding. And next one is, this word is originated from Latin word pastoralis, and it means that relating with shepherd. And during the ancient times also, there was pastoral poems and from 700 BCE. And that was a work and day. And another Greek poets wrote pastoral poem, specifically Hesiod and Idylls, written by Theocritus. Okay, so these are the important history behind the pastoral work in the history of pastoral writing. And the next one we can discuss about what are the important features of pastoral poetry. What are the important features of pastoral poetry? Important features of pastoral poetry. Okay, important features of pastoral poetry. The important features are love and seduction is one of the important feature. Love and seduction. Okay, love and seduction are the important features. It means that the love of nature, the love of humanity and its meanings, all these are the important feature, one of the important feature in pastoral poem. And the next one is death and mourning. Death and mourning. Okay. It means that the poem generally discusses about the death and the sorrow, okay, or sadness. So that is another important theme generally we can see in pastoral poem. Okay, and next one is the poem generally discusses about the condition of society. Condition of society. This poem generally discusses about the condition of society during that time. That is another important point relating with pastoral poetry. And next one is the poem generally discusses about the life, especially life of common people, life of very common people. So that's another important peculiarity. And the fifth one is the pastoral poem generally refer politics in a particular region. That means that in England, we know that we already discussed about the political system existed in England during the time of Anglo-Norman period onwards, and Renaissance time, Elizabethan time, a lot of political change, social change occurred in England. And in case of pastoral poem, we can also say that the poem generally discuss about the society that we already discussed and the politics of, or the political structure or the political pattern of the particular society. So these are the 5 important themes or features we can generally read from the pastoral poem. Okay, so this is the important features relating with pastoral poem. Then next one is we can discuss about the important pastoral poets. Pastoral poets. Okay. Who are the important, the list of important pastoral poets? The important pastoral poets are Virgil, Okay, Virgil is one of the important pastoral poet that time, and his work is eclogue. Okay, his work is eclogue. It's an important work. And the next one is Petrarch. Petrarch was also one of the important pastoral poet. We already discussed Petrarch was famous in his sonnets, right? Petrarchian sonnet. And this Petrarch also famous and also one of the important pioneer in pastoral poetry in English literature. And the next one is during the later Renaissance time, during the later Renaissance time, during the later Renaissance time, we already discussed what is Renaissance. Okay, Renaissance means rebirth, okay, awakening. During the later Renaissance time, different pastoral poems was also published. Which are the important writers that time? During the later Renaissance time, which are the important writers? The important writers that time is, we can say that, Shepherd's Calendar. Okay, the important Edmund Spenser, poem Shepherd's Calendar. Okay, Shepherd's Calendar, that was in 1579, an important poem relating with pastoral poems. And from this Edmund Spenser Shepherd's Calendar, during the 17th century also, different pastoral poems published in English literature. The other important poets like Christopher Marlowe. The important poets are Christopher Marlowe. Then next one is John Donne. And next one is Sir Walter Raleigh. All these are the important name of poets relating with pastoral poetry in English literature. And from that period, English literature, lot of different types of pastoral poems published gradually in English literature. So actually the beginning of the pastoral poem from the Greek, and at the same time the different writers like Virgil, Petrarch, and different poems were published, and these poets inspired the later coming poets like Renaissance time. And after Renaissance time, later Renaissance time, the important work Shepherd's Calendar, written by Edmund Spenser. And this Shepherd's Calendar was an important pastoral poem which influenced different writers during that time. And later, at the time of 17th century, the different writers wrote their pastoral poems following the inspiration, mainly they inspired from the Edmund Spenser. The important poets are Christopher Marlowe, John Donne, Sir Walter Raleigh, like this writers. Okay, so these are the important points relating with pastoral poem. Then next one is we have to remember that the pastoral poems mainly appeared in the English pastoral poems pastoral poems appeared in English literature 1500 time. So in the 1500 time, the different forms of pastoral works, literary works appeared in English literary works, English literature. Okay, and that is what was mainly based on fantasy based. Fantasy based. Okay, so the beginning of this pastoral poem in English literature, it was mainly based on fantasy based poems. Okay, so these are the important points relating with pastoral poems in English literature. So we discussed this, the introduction of this pastoral poem, because we are going to study Michael. Michael is a pastoral poem written by William Wordsworth. Actually, the beginning of this pastoral poem from the ancient times, and later the Greek and different writers in the different regions wrote pastoral poems. And this pastoral poem, pastoral is a word originated from the Latin word, and it means that connecting with shepherd. And mainly we discussed about Shepherd's Calendar written by Edmund Spenser, and through this work around the 17th century time, this work highly influenced, and it was an inspiration for the writers during that time. Okay, then after that, the different pastoral poems published in English literature, and mainly the pastoral poem focused on death, mourning, death, mourn. Then next one is the emotions or the emotional imbalances of the particular that means representation of the nature, with death as also one of the area of discussion in this poem, and mourn, sorrow, sadness, like, okay, all these are the basic theme generally discussed in pastoral poem. But we can say that the romantic age, normally romanticism is an age highly give more priority for nature. So in this pastoral poem also, we can say that nature is an important theme in this poem. But this poem generally discusses about death and sorrow. Okay, so these are the important points we discussed, and we referred these concepts here for discussing Michael, the poem Michael. This poem Michael, written by William Wordsworth, and this poem also explains about the life of a person, an 80-year-old person named Michael, and his traumatic life. So this poem is considered as a tragic poem. It discussed about a tragic life of Michael. So let's discuss the poem. Here, let's discuss the line 1 to 5. Actually, this poem includes 16 plus 16, about 16 stanzas. So in order to cover easily, I divide this poem in 5 lines, and we can easily read and understand this way. So let's start line 1 to 5. If from the public way you turn your steps up the tumultuous brook of green-haired girl, you will suppose that with an upright path your feet must struggle in such blood ascent the pastoral mountains front you face to face. So this is the first part of the lines in this poem. So let's discuss in detail. If from the public way, it means that, if from the public way means that normal road. Okay, the normal way. You turn your steps. Here the poet William Wordsworth functions as a like a guide. That means that the poet seeks the attention of readers. Here in this poem, we generally say that all the poems written, almost the poems we discussed in the last class also, Wordsworth indirectly as the character in that poem. But here this poem is different. Here the poet William Wordsworth tried to explain as a narrator only. And the character is different, the characterization is different, and the emotion is also different, and not the poet's emotion here. Because poet as like a guide or a narrator try to explain these incidences. So that's the difference of this poem. And here the poet asks the readers, come. The poet asks the readers, come, let's go to that place. So that's way William Wordsworth explains this poem. So William Wordsworth says that when you go or when we go, we have to change our steps, we have to change our route to reach the place. If from the public way you turn your steps up the tumultuous brook of the green-haired girl, you will suppose that with an upright path your feet must struggle in such bold ascent the pastoral mountains from you face to face. It means that here tumultuous means that confused means. Brook means that, what is the brook? It means that a small stream. Brook means small stream. And here green-haired girl. Green-haired girl means we know that it's a village. Actually the important place in this poem is green-haired girl. It is a village in a Lake District, England. Lake District, England. So here the incidents happens, or here the story happens, okay? And you will suppose that with an upright path. Upright path means straight way or straight path. Straight path, okay? And your feet must struggle in such bold ascent. Ascent. What is the meaning of the word ascent? Means climb. Climb. The pastoral mountains front you face to face. So the initial lines of the poem, the first lines of the poem, William Wordsworth says that, yes, come, the readers. He asks the readers to come, let's go to that place. The place where Michael lives, right? So let's go there. Let's go to that way. And the poet says that it's very hard to reach that particular place because this place is very lonely and it is like a mountain range, or it is like a mountain slope. So we have to struggle to reach there. So that is the initial lines of the poem the poet explains. So let's write the important theme of this first part of the poem. The theme is William Wordsworth invites the readers to go to Greenhead Gale. Okay, to go to Greenhead Gale, where a mountain slope, which was the place where Michael lives. And poet says that you can hear the voice of brook. Here brook means, we already discussed, stream, narrow small stream, brook. And poet also says that the way is hard, or the path is hard. The path is hard, and we have to climb this region. We have to climb this region to see that place. So that is the initial part of the poem. The first lines of the poem, William Wordsworth says about the structure, the geography of, or the beauty of Greenhead Gale. It is a district in Lake District, a land area in Lake District, England, and it is like a mountain slope region. And the poet invites the readers to go or visit that place. And poet also says that it is very hard, or it is very struggling to reach that particular place. And the poet also explains about brook. Here brook means a small stream, and you can hear the noise of stream, and you can hear this mountain slope, and through this way we can change our path. So that is the meaning of the first lines of the poem. And the next one, line 6 to 10. Line 6 to 10, we can discuss the line 6 to 10. But courage. That means the poet already said that it is very hard. It is very hard to climb that range. It is very hard to climb that range. For around that boisterous brook. Boisterous means, what is boisterous? It means that noisy. Boisterous means noisy. Brook means stream. Okay. The mountains have all opened out themselves. It means that through the narrow place there is mountains which covered the mountains and made a hidden valley of their own. There was a hidden valley. Poet says that there was a hidden valley. No habitation, that means no living. No living, that means nobody lived there, can be seen, but they who journey thither find themselves alone. Here, what is the meaning of the word thither? What is the meaning of the word thither? Here, thither means towards that place. Towards that place. Towards that place. Okay. So let's discuss the next part of the poem. The next part of the poem. But courage, for around that boisterous brook The mountains have all opened out themselves and made a hidden valley of their own. No habitation can be seen, but they who journey thither find themselves alone. It means that William Wordsworth says that William Wordsworth says there, that means that place, we can see brook or small stream and its noises, and that place is opened, but it covered with mountains. Okay, covered with mountains, and it actually looks like a valley. Okay, so that is the next section of lines. Poet explains about the place. So here we can say that the first lines of the poem, the poet invites the readers to go that particular place, and the second section of this lines, or the second part of the lines, poet William Wordsworth explains about the land of particular area, and that is like a valley. That valley is covered with mountains. So that is the next lines. And next one is line 11 to 15. Line 11 to 15. Who journey hither find themselves alone with a few sheep. That means you can see sheep there. With rocks, a lot of explains about some features of that land, and stones and kites that overhead are sailing the sky. It is set in truth and utter solitude. It means that that place is very lonely. That place is very lonely. Nor should I have made mention that dell. Nor should I have mentioned that dell. Dell means that small valley. Small valley. Okay. So the third section of this poem, the sets of these sentences or the lines, we can explain that who journey thither find themselves alone. That means the poet invites the readers to visit that place. The poet invites the readers to visit that place, to go or visit that place. That place is like a hill, and there is stream there. There is a small stream there, and there is valley, and it covered with mountains. And the poet says that it is very hard, or it is very struggle to climb that land. And here the poet says that a lot of things can see that place. That means lot of sheep there, rocks, stone, and you can see all these features there, and at the same time that place looks like lonely. That means solitude, because no other, only sheep, stones, like this natural things only. No man in that particular place. The place is empty. So the poet says that this place is empty and looks like solitude. So this is the next section, and the last part of this, the last line in this section, poet says that I am regret. That means I feel regret to invite you in this lonely place. And the poet says that the dell. That means nor should I have made mention that its place. Because I want to share this, the beauty or the incidents in this place, but at the same time I feel regret that that means I am inviting you in this solitude or in this loneliness. So the poet also regrets. So the poet also says that I am extremely regret that I am inviting you in this place because this place is very lonely. Okay, so this is the next lines of the poem. So the first, second and third part of the poem, step by step, the poet explains about the beauty, at the same time the structure of that particular land area, and this is like a valley place and it covered with mountain, and this place is lonely, but that place is filled with a lot of rocks, stones and sheeps. And the poet says that in this area no man or only animals like sheeps only can find that place, rocks and stone only, these are the visuals the poet explains in this line. And next one is, but for one object which you might pass by, might see and notice not, beside the brook appears a struggling heap of unhewn stones, and to that simple object appertains a story unenriched with strange events, yet not unfit, I deem, for the fireside. The next lines of the poem, the poet says about, but for one object which you might pass by. Then when you climb this land or when you climb this hill or hill slope, you will find a lot of things. That the poet means. Okay, that means that you might pass by, might see and notice not, beside the brook. That means the poet already said that brook, stream is there. Okay, the poet says that stream is there, brook. But besides this brook, the poet says that you can see some other beautiful scenes like the slope, land slope, and stones, the heap of stones. Okay, and that simple objects appertains. Okay, appertains. What is appertains? Relate to. That means this place is related with some other objects also, and you can see stream, that means brook, and beside this you can see the slope, land slope, beautiful scenes in this area. And this, the poet says that a story unenriched with the strange events. Okay, that means that the poet says that through this poem or through these explanations, William Wordsworth says that it's a story, because I am going to tell you a story. I am going to explain a story. The poet says that I am going to explain a story. That story is unenriched with strange events, yet not unfit, deemed for the fireside. Because this poem in this context, William Wordsworth says that my story is not at all a big story, but it mentions about an incident. Okay, and it's an informal conversation. So that means that through the informal conversation, I would like to share a story here. Okay, so these lines, poet says that, so the first to this line we can just quickly revise once again. The poem starts with William Wordsworth invites the reader to come. That means in order to visit the place, the place where Michael lives. And the poet says that readers have to notice all the features in that land, all the features in that particular area. And there are sheep, stones, rocks, and the poet William Wordsworth says that there is a brook. Brook means small stream, and you can see all these beauties. And poet says that this place is like a valley, and this valley is covered with mountains. Okay, and this place, the place Wordsworth says this is a dell. Okay, dell. This place is lonely, and I would like to share a story. I would like to share a story. So this is the important theme from this beginning of the poem, and we discussed the first 20 lines of the poem. Okay. And next one is, or for the summer shade, it was the first of those domestic tales that spake to me of shepherds, dwellers in the valley, men whom I already loved, not verily for their own sakes, but for the fields and hills. Okay, so in these lines, the poet says that, oh, for the summer shade, oh, for the summer shade, it was the first of those domestic tales. That means the poet says that the poet going to explain a story and spake. Spake means spoke. Okay, speak. That actually this word is speak. And the shepherds. I am going to explain a story about shepherds. The poet starts to tell a story. That is, I am going to explain a story. I am going to tell a story. That story relating with shepherds. Okay, shepherds. The next one, dwellers in the valley. And the poet also says that I am going to tell the story relating with shepherds and dwellers. Dwellers means the people who lives. Okay, dwellers. Dwellers in this valley. Dwellers in this valley. Okay, dwellers in this valley. Men who I already loved. That means the poet says that I loved that people. Okay, that means I loved shepherds. William Wordsworth says that I loved shepherds. So here I would like to share this story with you. Okay, and not verily for their own sake, but for the field and hills. And the poet says that I am not only explain about the people only, but I want to explain and I want to tell you the story about this valley, about these hills, about this beauty. Okay, so that is the meaning of these lines. We can quickly revise once again these lines. The poem explains about Michael, the character, the central character in this poem. And in order to introduce the character, William Wordsworth invites the reader to go that place. And the poet here is like a guide, and he leads the reader to that place. And poet says that you come with me and I will tell you a story. That story is relating with shepherds. But the poet says that the story is not only about shepherds, it's about the people live in the particular land. The people live in that area and its beauty. So this is the important points in this important concepts in these lines. Okay. So let's discuss about the next lines. Then 26 to 30. Where was their occupation and abode? And hence this tale, while I was yet a boy, careless of books, yet having felt the power of nature by the gentle agency of natural objects, led me on the field. Then the poet says that, where was their occupation and abode? What is the meaning of the word abode? Abode means place of residence. Okay. Abode means place of residence. And the poet says that, where was their occupation and abode? The poet asks himself that, or the poet asks to the readers that, where is these shepherds' home and what's their actual occupation? And hence this tale, while I was yet a boy. The poet says that I heard about this story because I am going to tell you a story. That story I heard when I was a boy. That means when he was a boy, William Wordsworth. Okay. And careless of books, yet having felt the power of nature by the gentle agency of natural objects, and led me on the field. That means that during that time also I was loved with, because I loved this place, I loved the nature, I loved the shepherd. And here I would like to share that story with you. That is the meaning of this lines. Okay. So these are the important points we discussed in the first to the 13th line of the poem. The next lines is, for passions that were not my own, and think at random and imperfectly indeed. On man, the heart of man and a human life, therefore, although it be a history, homely and rude, I will relate the same. And the poet William Wordsworth, preparing to say or trying to say the story, start the story, and the poet explained that, for passions that were not my own, because I heard about the story. Okay, I heard about this story and I want to share with the story with the readers. And the passions that were not my own, and think at random and imperfectly indeed. On man, the heart of man and human life, because here I would like to share that the life of a man, that is Michael. Okay, so here I would like to share a story of a man, and I want to share a story relating with human life. That is the story of Michael. Therefore, although it be a history, homely and rude, I will relate to the same. The poet says that this story may be rude, or this story may be a history, but whatever, I would like to share this story with you. That is the meaning of this lines. And the next one, line 36 to 40. For the delight of a few natural hearts, and with yet fonder feeling, for the sake of youthful poets, who among these hills will be my second self when I am gone upon the forest side of Grasmere Vale. Okay? Okay, so let's discuss what is this. Here the poet explains about another village name, that means Grasmere Valley. Okay, that is Grasmere Valley. That means the village situated near Lake District. Okay, the village situates near Lake District. Village situates near Lake District. Okay. For the delight of few natural hearts. That means that I am I am familiar with this nature and I love this nature. The poet says that I want to share the beauty of this nature. But at the same time, William Wordsworth wishes to share human life, especially a life of Michael. And with yet fonder feeling and for the sake of youthful poets who among these hills. The poet says that before I explained, different persons or different people visit here and they shared their thoughts. And next one will my second self, because here I want to share from my mind. That means William Wordsworth likes to share within his mind that his experience or his knowledge relating with this place. And upon the forest side in Grasmere Vale. That means this is a forest side. This place is relating with a forest area, and this is a valley. And here the poet trying to say about the story of Michael. So that's an important point. So here, up to the 40 lines of the poem, William Wordsworth explains about the beauty, or the poet addresses the readers to come with the poet to enjoy this beauty. And each lines, William Wordsworth try to convey his experience and knowledge relating with this place. Okay, so these are the important lines explained William Wordsworth in the initial part of this poem. So let's discuss the part 2 of the poem in the next class. Thank you.